Okay, so in this week's guitar lesson, we're going to talk about how to play this slow and mellow sounding lead. This kind of got this old Western vibe kind of thing, and it's really easy to play this. So most of these notes are played using lower notes on the fretboard, which is sort of unusual. Typically, we tend to play higher notes and do a lot of bends and stuff, but there's a certain kind of sound, and that's what I was going for this week, was this sort of old Western kind of sound. I love that sound. It sounds great on a Telecaster style guitar with a lot of twang and a lot of treble. Anyway, I'm gonna talk through the effects that I use so that you can recreate this at home if you want. And then we're gonna go through all the lesson material in one video. So this week's not a two-parter. I think I can get it all done in one video. If you'd like to get the extra materials, however, that come with this lesson, the MP3 jam track, the tab PDF file, the on-screen tab viewer, which is interactive, tab video on screen at the same time. You can loop it and slow it down, all those extra things. You can get those by going to activemelody.com, go to the weekly lessons page, and do a search for EP541. Okay, let me talk through the effects that I'm using. Now, I don't normally do this because I don't usually use any effects. It's usually just a little bit of an amp overdrive, whatever the amp sound I'm using, and some reverb, and that's it. I mean, I'm just not a big effects guy. However, sometimes when I'm trying to create a sound, I will go for some effects, and that's what I'm using this week. Now, I'm not using an amplifier. When I make these videos, I never use an amp. I always use an amp emulator. It's just a lot easier for recording purposes. So I'm either using my Kemper Profiler, which I haven't used in a while, or I'm using my Line 6 Helix. That's what I'm using today. It's sitting on the floor in front of me. And I love it because there's a million effects and a lot of great amp emulation. So if you're looking for a great amp emulator, the Line 6 Helix is a really good option. Now, I'm using really two effects to achieve this sound. One of the effects is a tape echo, and so you can use any sort of, which is a delay. So you can use any delay pedal to get that. Here's what it sounds like. You can kind of gauge the tempo and then the feedback and also the mix. So that's what's going on with the delay. And then the other is called optical trim, or it's a tremolo. And so the tremolo, hear that little shimmer in the sound? Like a vibrato. That's the other element to this. So when you put those two together, you get that. Now there is a little bit of overdrive as well. The amp I'm using, for those of you that have a Line 6 and you want to recreate this, I'm using the US Small Tweed. Very basic sounding amp, a little bit of overdrive. It's kind of got that old school sound. But that's it. It's really those three things together, the amp and then the two effects, that give you that sound. So if you're ever trying to recreate or trying to create a sound where your notes ring out for an extended period of time, delay is what you want to use for that. And when you mix a little tremolo with the delay, you get just the coolest vibe. You get the coolest sound. Okay, so that's what I'm using effects-wise. Let's listen to the first part of this, and then we'll talk about what's going on. All right, so this song is played in A minor. It's a minor key song, and there's four chords we're going to address up front, the first four chords, which just keep being repeated. The first one is an A minor, and then it goes to an F, and then it goes to a C, and then it goes to an E. The E is your 5 chord, tension chord, which resolves back to your 1 chord. Now I'm going to talk more about these chords, and I'm going to show you a really cool way to play them coming up. But those are the chords we're playing over. Now the first thing that I played, though, goes like this. Let's talk about those notes first, and then I'll explain where they're coming from. So it's open 5th string, then we go to the 2nd fret and 3rd fret on the 5th string. And then we come up to the 4th string and play 2, 3. Those are the fret numbers. So, and you can almost hear underneath it the chords. So you have your A minor, and then I'm landing on an F note, which works over the F chord. Now, I wasn't really thinking about about that, though, I was really just kind of staying in the key of the song, and the song's in A minor, so I'm kind of just playing notes from the A natural minor scale. So this is one of those reasons why you have to know your scales all over the fretboard. But you don't have to get into that. A lot of times I'll get emails from you, and I think a lot of you get sidetracked and you think, oh, I'm going to stop this video now. I'm going to go learn all my minor scales. No, don't think of it that way. Learn in pieces. That's the best way to learn. So for now, here's what you want to learn. That little walk up, that's an A minor, an A natural minor scale played in a lower registry. That would be a great starting point. And you can do all kinds of cool stuff just with that. You can do bends from one of the notes to the other. You can do it on the 5th string, on the 4th string. So you can take those notes and start to kind of massage them and play with them a little bit. But anyway, that's where they're coming from, is the natural minor scale. But don't get too caught up in it. Just kind of picture those chord shapes, though. Remember, your first chord's an A, right? So that makes sense. We're just walking up to the F. There's a note. There's your F note, which is in your F chord. Okay, so now the song goes to a C, and I went like this. Now you can hear a C even without the jam track. You can kind of hear the C underneath it. You back off. Did you hear that I was breaking up a little bit? When that happens, if you're ever recording, which I am as I'm making this video, but just back off your volume a little bit and that'll go away. See? So what I'm doing there, I'm just thinking about a C chord. First position C chord. Play the 5th string, open 4th string, and then hammering on. Now I didn't use those fingers. I just did that to show you how it's coming out of that C chord shape. That's how I played it. So from the beginning we have, here's your F, here's your C. Then it goes to an E, and I played this. So the notes for that are the 4th fret 6th string. So now we're down to the 6th string. Now I'm using my ring finger for that. And then we come up to the 5th string. And then we do a hammer onto the 2nd fret on that 5th string. So it goes like this. And I'll let those notes kind of overlap each other. It sounds a little worse without the jam track when you hear it. But with the jam track, it works. Now, what are these notes? Remember, we're playing over the E chord. So when I came down to this note, that's the 3rd interval of my E. Right? So it'd be like going like this. So it's 3rd interval up to the 5th interval. So it's really kind of outlining your E chord. It's not full arpeggio, but you're hitting 2 of the 3 notes of your E chord. And so interval wise, it's 3, 4, 5. And so we're really tracing the notes of these chords as they kind of pass by. But I didn't want to get into scale mode per se. I was really just thinking about those first position chords down here and trying to see things, and I'd had to do it a few times. It just didn't come out like right away the first time. But I had this sound in my head, and so I just kind of kept messing with it. I like that. It's very weird sounding, but it works. All right, so now things repeat. We go back to the A minor, and I played. Same as what we did before, but then watch this. So this time, I came to the 3rd fret 4th string, slid up to the 5th fret, and then back to the 3rd fret. A little embellishment off of it. And then, instead of me doing what I did before, I came up here and went. So let me explain that. I went to minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. This is kind of, you'll notice I repeat myself pretty much in everything I do. It doesn't matter what style it is. But I went back to home, like in my mind. I was thinking, okay, we're A minor. Oh yeah, I can always just play my A minor pentatonic scale. Right? So I came into this, I'm staying on the lower strings though. So I went to the 4th string, 7th fret, down to the 5th fret, and then 7th fret, 5th string. Played that, and then watch this. That's where it goes to the E. So I came up and hit the 3rd interval of that E, and then back down here, which is, so that note there is the 6th fret, 4th string, and then 7th fret, 5th string. Those 2 notes, by the way, if you're playing your E7 right here, using the C7 shape, it's just strings 4 and 5 out of that. So I pictured that chord shape, and in my head, very quickly, I'm asking myself, where's my nearest E right here? Because I know the E's coming. Oh yeah, there's one right here. All right, so those same 4 chords are going to cycle through 2 more times, but I wanted to show you something really cool, and it's using the same shape. I know a lot of you struggle with playing bar chords. I hear that a lot. This is how you can play minor chords and major chords using one shape, that there's no bar involved. And it's the same shape as your A minor. So if you can play an A minor chord, you're making the shape. In fact, we're going to start with that. So just A minor chord in 1st position. You already know how to do it, right? So we're going to play strings 5, 4, and 3. Okay? Now we're going to take that same shape and we're going to move it here. So it looks exactly the same. Now my middle finger is touching the 3rd fret, 5th string. And it sounds like this. So look at what we've done. We played our A minor. And then when I move it here, I'm playing an F. Some of you go, wait, how are you playing an F? Think about your F with the bar, right? There's your little E shape inside of your F. Oh yeah, you're seeing it now, right? There's the E. And we don't have to play the full bar. We can just use that same little shape for minor chords and major chords. So A minor, F. Now watch, this is where it gets cool. We just take the same thing and we jump up a set of strings. So now my middle finger is touching the 3rd fret, 6th string. And we're going to play strings 6, 5, and 4 now. And that represents my C chord. Think about your C chord, right? Look at strings 4 and 5. Okay, it's these 2. Well, you've also got this G note down here. It's in your C chord. So it's like a C over G. So when you play that, it's another way to play a C chord. So now I'm using that same shape, A minor, F, C. And then we can use the same shape to play our E chord. You know where that's at. We're going to play the same strings though, 6, 5, and 4. All right, so now the song is going to loop back through those same 4 chords. We're going to use the same shapes that we just used with our left hand. The only difference is in this second time, just to give some variation, is I'm going to pick 4 strings now instead of 3. So the first time we would just went 5, 4, 3. Now we're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2. So like this. That's our A minor. We're going to come to our F, and we're going to do the same strings. 5, 4, 3, 2. Ooh, it's kind of weird, right? You got that open B string, but it just works in there. Isn't that cool? Now we're going to play 6, 5, 4, and 3 for our C chord. And then we're going to play 6, 5, 4, and 3 for our E chord. How cool is that? It's just one of those little discoveries I kind of stumbled upon, and I thought that would be cool, especially for those of you that struggle with making chords, and if you got hands that won't allow you to make bar chords. This is another way to get around that. All right, so now we come into the second part of the song which is a D minor to an A minor. And then it goes to an E, or E7, 5 chord, and then back to the A minor. Okay, so that's what we're going to be playing over. Now we're still in the key of A minor. Even though we've got that D minor in there, we're still in the A minor world. So that means I can play A minor pentatonic scale if I want over any of these chords. And in fact, that's kind of where I went. I went back into this A minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. But what I ended up playing goes like this. Now I realize that this note is not in your minor pentatonic scale, but it is in the natural minor scale. So if you're playing your minor pentatonic scale pattern 1, right, and you're on your 3rd string in this area, you can take your index finger and come down 1 fret. So if we're playing an A minor, it would be going from the 5th fret down to the 4th fret, and then go back into your pentatonic. So listen to this. That one note will give you a ton of mileage if you can take that and just work that one note into your minor pentatonic scale. You're basically hinting at the main note of the natural minor scale. So now you can just work, you can hear how it gives a whole different variety. So when I played that, I was playing, this note here, a 7th fret, 4th string, mixed with that note from the natural minor scale, which is 4th fret, 3rd string, and it just created a very unusual sound. And then I came down to the 7th fret, 5th string, also in your minor pentatonic scale. Then from here I went like this. Little half bend on that 7th fret, 5th string, down to the 5th fret, 5th string. And then I came back down to my A minor chord down here and went and did that little half bend. I actually kind of showed you some of this at the beginning of this video. So 2nd fret, 5th string, half bend with your index finger. It's the only way I can really do it effectively. And then down to your open A. So we have All right, so now the song goes back to the D minor, and I played the same idea. I went, but this time I only went 4, 3, 4, and then from here, watch this. Okay, let me show you that. We're gonna go from this 4th fret, 3rd string, up to the 5th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret, and then 5th fret, 2nd string. And then we're going to walk it back down, 8, 7 on the 3rd string, and then down to the 5th fret, 3rd string. Let me show you that again. Notice the slides. Now that's kind of a Mark Knopfler style lick, and what's going on there, think back to ground yourself with your minor pentatonic, right? Minor pentatonic scale pattern 1. That's your natural minor note, so you know where that's coming from. You know where those notes are coming from. But what about that note? That's in the blues scale, so that's called a blue note. And so the blues scale is your minor pentatonic scale with that one extra note. So that 8th fret, 3rd string is your blue note. So we have, and I think that last note I hit was 7th fret, 4th string. All right, so the next chord that happens after this goes to a B, and then it goes to an E, and then back to the A. And so what's going on there chord-wise, song structure-wise, is the B is your 5 chord of your E, which is the 5 chord of your A. And so those are called secondary dominant chords when you're playing the 5 chord of another chord within a song. So I'll put a lesson up on the screen right now if you want to check out that and maybe do a deeper dive on what a secondary dominant chord is all about. I have a whole lesson on that. But that's what that sound is. So to play over the B, I just slid down to here because I was picturing my B chord using the A shape, and I'm just seeing that little triad there. So that makes it make sense, right? That's where that's coming from. And then the next thing I did was these two notes. So 3rd fret, 2nd string, and 4th fret, 3rd string. Now, how do those two notes work over the E chord? Well, you have your E7 triad right there, right? And that's where they're coming from. That's how I pictured it. So I had my B, and then I have my E, or E7. And then we're back to the A. All right, so let me just mention one more point about the 5 chord. I keep talking about the 5 chord. The 5 chord, if you're writing a song and you're looking for a way to get back home, back to the chord you started with, or back to your 1 chord, your 5 chord is the key to doing that. It's the best way to do it. And so in A minor, your 5 chord is E. And in A major, your 5 chord is E. So here's how you find your 5 chord. There's a very quick formula. All you have to do is find the note that you're looking for, the note that your 1 chord is, find it on your 5th string. So if we were trying to find our A note, it would be open, right? Or we can come up to the 12th fret, make it a little easier to see. So that's my A note on the 5th string. So my 5 chord is the note right below it on the 6th string. Same fret though. So that's an E note. So there's my E, and then it resolves to its 1, which is my A minor. Or it can resolve to A major. Listen to this. It works either way. So that's how you can easily find your 5 chord. All right, well, hopefully you picked up a few ideas for some practical things that you can integrate into your playing. And remember, if you want the extra materials for this, you can go to activemelody.com and do a search for EP541. No spaces, just EP541. Put that in the search box, and you'll be able to find this lesson. And while you're there, check out all the other lessons. I've got about 12 years worth of in-depth lessons. And when I say 12 years, I'm talking every Friday I put out a lesson. I've got micro lessons. There's a whole section on that. Lots of lessons, but they all have one goal, which is to teach you how to jam and improvise and just make music on the fly. That's the whole point. So I try and give you all the lesson materials and everything you need to be able to do that. All right, we'll see you next week for something new.